I know what you're gonna say. If it was Final Zone, then why'd they make a Final Zone 2? And to that I say, oh you card. The real question you should be asking is, didn't we just see a top-down military-themed run-and-gun developed by an internal team at Nippon Telenet for CD-ROM? Because Red Alert was just 3 months ago. But let's hit the actual big question here. What was Final Zone 1? Because it definitely didn't exist on the PC Engine. Well, the box called it Final Zone Wolf, and it was released for the PC-88. The title screen in the game and the text that appears beside the gameplay area drop the wolf part, which makes me wonder if they printed the boxes and then changed their mind on the title. The game is a top-down shooter, very obviously inspired by Commando, and it's especially notable for the fairly elaborate story in it. There's huge cutscenes laid out like comics, before and after every stage. Now, the PC-88 was not a great platform for action games. Still, Final Zone, or Final Zone Wolf, was a pretty big hit in 1986. As far as I can tell, none of the original crew on that game came back for Final Zone 2, and that game was a PC Engine CD-ROM exclusive. Oddly enough, even the US version uses the title Final Zone 2, even though Final Zone was never released in the US. But just to maximize confusion, Nippon Telenet made a third game in the Final Zone series, just titled Final Zone, and that one was released in the US on the Genesis at the end of 1990. Final Zone 2 tells the story of HOT, an elite commando group. They're getting into their power armor and preparing for an orbital insertion when their satellite base Valhalla comes under attack. A handful of them make it to escape pods and land scattered across the island where they try to fulfill their mission, stopping the evil military Zods from using their weapon Valkyrie to conquer the world. Naturally, since this is a CD-ROM game, the story is told in cutscene and voiceover. At this point, Nippon Telenet had stopped crediting the voice actors in their games, so I can't tell you if anyone well-known was in this one. As for the voice acting in the US version,
I was getting tired of waiting.
You have a nice outfit on. Is it new? Do you want to trade it for my old one?
Verda!
Hi, Momoko. You came along too?
Why didn't you tell us? Do you know how much we suffered because of what happened to you?
Hansen, why are you here? And Momoko too.
I thought you'd send me away if I came alone.
yeah, I'm going to stick to the Japanese. Final Zone 2 consists of 7 stages, and as the members of HOTS find each other, you can choose between multiple characters to play. Every character has a primary weapon fired by pressing button 2, and a secondary weapon fired by pressing button 1. The secondary weapons all have limited ammunition, and are usually more powerful options. There's one more difference between the characters. Every character has their own soundtrack. Most of these are just decent tunes, but Momoko Ring gets something different. When you're playing as her, you get a pop song complete with lyrics. I think this is the first time in a console game where someone would sing along with your gameplay. We've had a few discs with songs where you watch something happen on screen while someone sings, but this is the first time on the PC Engine where you have to do something while someone sings. I should point out it's not the first time ever, because there are a few arcade games with this, but it's one more interesting application of the CD-ROM technology. That's not the only song with lyrics in the game. The title screen also has its own rock song. But for some reason, the ending doesn't. The leader of HOT is Howard Bowie. His primary weapon is a Vulcan minigun, so it'll shoot rapidly if you hold down button 2, and his special weapon is a bazooka. It fires a straight shot and leaves an explosion behind, so it can hit multiple enemies. Hannah Franks is his second in command, And she also gets a Vulcan minigun for her primary weapon. And for her secondary, she has a beam rifle, a laser shot that can pass through solid objects, and it goes through enemies when it hits them. Besides the song, Momoko Ring has an assault rifle. It has a longer range than the Vulcan guns, but it doesn't auto-fire. Of course, you could always use the switches on your controller for that. Her special weapon is a grenade launcher that will travel a certain distance and then make a large explosion. It's another shot that can go over terrain. Isaac Velder does infiltration for Hot, and when he gets into his powered armor, his secondary weapon is a beam rifle, while his primary weapon is a beam saber. And for some reason that information is backwards on his character card. The beam saber is very short range, but it is a continuous effect as long as you hold down button 2. Or, I guess, about 5 seconds before it turns off on its own, which is close enough to continuous for this purpose. Finally, there's Randy Hansen, the one team member I didn't get to use. His primary weapon is a shotgun with a large spread and short range, and he has missile packs for his special weapon. The action in Final Zone 2 is all vertically scrolling, no side-to-side motion at all. And sometimes the scrolling will halt for a special enemy, like these tanks. You can't move on until you take them out, and it's possible to destroy all of their turrets but leave them alive, so they'll just sit there impotently not doing anything. Enemies can drop 2 different kinds of pickups. One flashes between H and B, the other flashes between S and P. H stands for health, and that restores a few points of life. B stands for bullets, and it replenishes all of your special weapon. S stands for something, and it will fully restore your health, while the P will increase the length of your life bar. There's only one SP power-up per stage, and if you use the same character multiple times, it's possible to keep increasing that maximum length until it fills up the entire blue bar. Stage 3 is different from the other levels. You play as Isaac, but rather than using his power armor, he's stolen a helicopter. In the helicopter, button 2 will fire the machine gun, and button 1 will fire missiles. The screen auto-scrolls for this battle, but the same items still drop from enemies. That ends the portion of the video where I'm nice about the game, because Final Zone 2 has a lot of problems. Let's start with the level design. There's a lot of areas where your movement is heavily restricted, and it's easy to get caught up on terrain for these. You might have to pass through an area where you just can't move from side to side. It's just frustrating to deal with while you play. And then there's the issue with the damage. There's no period of invulnerability after you get hit, so getting struck by things like explosions just makes your life bar vanish. You also get shoved around when you get hit, but that often means you're just getting shoved into other attacks. Enemies spawn in and start attacking instantaneously, sometimes right on top of you. And the bosses are often generic guys who just bring out a whole bunch of enemies, and that winds up making the health melt problem even worse. In a weird way, the first stage winds up being the hardest because of these problems. There's a lot of enemies with bazookas, and a few points where the screen stops and a bunch of people with explosives rush you. Because of these problems with enemies, the way you wind up having to play Final Zone is advance the screen just a little bit to make it ratchet forward, stop and wait for enemies to spawn, kill anything that appeared, and hopefully if it was toward the top of the screen, it walked on far enough for your bullets to hit it, then repeat that advance. It's a boring way to play an action game, but it's really the only effective option. Once you're past stage 1, stage 2 is trivial, and then okay, stage 3 has a lot of jets that fly in and bomb you instantaneously. But then once you're past that, stage 4, 5, and 6 aren't difficult at all. The game wound up feeling very lopsided. Final Zone 2 is a game that got a bit of a mixed response in Japan. You've got people who are very happy with its presentation, and then other people who are very unhappy with how it played. Now for me, the play is the thing, both in retro games and catching the consciences of kings. And the play in Final Zone 2 is really rough. From what I read, it seems like this was another 3-month rush job from Nippon Telenet, and Final Zone 2 really needed another polishing pass. There's good ideas here. I like selecting the different soldiers. I like the variety of weapons. It's just the stage design isn't really great, and the way it handles damage is totally unfun. It's the kind of situation where I can actually see a hack of Final Zone 2 making the game significantly better. It's that close to doing things well, but those are some significant missteps.